Sera Linden was on her knees beneath a chandelier when the coldest billionaire in Morro Bay walked into the winter conservatory and found the room pretending she was invisible. The perfume spilled across the black marble had turned slick as oil. Bitter orange, angelica, and a false metallic smoke clung to the cloth in her hand and to the cuffs of the gray dress the staffing agency had given her that morning. Above her, women in cream coats lifted their shoes away from the stain as if poverty might climb through the soles. Men with crystal glasses watched the citrus trees instead of the girl scrubbing at their feet. "Careful," Opal Quince said with a little laugh. "That sample is worth more than her year." Sera kept wiping, because if she looked up too soon, she might say everything in her mouth. She might say the spilled sample was not the vault accord. She might say it had been dressed with cheap bergamot to hide the missing heart note. She might say someone had switched the vial and waited for a disposable worker to carry the blame. Jasper Quince stood beside the sample cabinet with a torn seal between his fingers. His family controlled the largest luxury retailer in 3 countries, which made every word he spoke sound official, even when it was poison. "The private accord for ash number 7 was opened," he said. "Witnesses saw Miss Linden near the cabinet." "I carried glasses," Sera said, and reached beneath the curtain to pick up a spoon. Opal turned to the nearest guests with a face full of soft regret. All was an explanation. The Sterling staff manager had already searched Sera's pockets. 2 security men had opened her handbag in front of everyone, exposing an unpaid rent notice, Finn's school inhaler, 3 coins, and the tiny amber bottle Sera carried everywhere. Jasper had lifted it as if it were a stolen jewel. "What is this?" "My own work," Sera had said before fear could make her wiser. "A server brought her own perfume to a closed preview," Opal murmured. "How ambitious." "It is not perfume. It is a memory study." Jasper smiled. "How poetic. How convenient." Then Cormac Sterling entered. He came through the north glass doors with his black coat still on and his gloves in one hand. He was not dramatic. He did not need to be. Stillness gathered around him and made everyone else look decorated. His face was severe, his dark hair brushed back, his eyes gray and without welcome. Morro Bay called him the Winter King of Fragrance because he owned the Sterling distilleries, glassworks, laboratories, archives, and most of the locked doors through which other people hoped to pass. His gaze moved from Jasper's torn seal to the open handbag, from Opal's satisfied mouth to Sera on the floor. "Why is she on her knees?" he asked. No one answered quickly enough. Opal stepped forward. "Cormac, I'm sorry this happened before the preview. There has been an irregularity." "An irregularity?" "The vault sample was opened. Then the server dropped a vial. She was carrying her own scent. We thought it best to wait for you before calling police." Sera stood. The cloth fell from her hand. "I did not touch the vault vial." Cormac looked at her, as if truth were a material he might weigh. "Your name?" "Sera Linden." Something shifted in his expression, not recognition, but calculation. Opal noticed. "You know her?" "No." He held out his hand. "The seal." Jasper gave it to him. Cormac examined the torn paper once. "This is from the outer display cabinet, not the vault." The conservatory changed temperature. Jasper's smile thinned. It was found near the vault drawer. "Then someone placed it there." Cormac lifted the spilled vial, smelled it without touching it to his skin, and set it down. "This is not ash number 7. Sera's heart struck hard enough to hurt. Cormac turned to the room. "The preview is postponed. Everyone leaves through the east doors. No photographs. No statements. Sterling Legal will contact any guest who finds this evening difficult to remember accurately." People obeyed because his voice did not rise. Wealth was loud only in childish people. In Cormac Sterling, it behaved like gravity. When the guests were gone, The conservatory felt larger and colder. Cormac took the amber bottle from the evidence tray. "This is yours?" "Yes." "What is in it?" Sera hesitated. The bottle held 3 months of nights after Finn slept and before the buses began running. It held bitter orange peel she could not afford to waste, rainwater caught in cracked porcelain, a mineral note from old library stairs, and a strange toasted softness she had been trying to name since childhood. "My own accord," she said. "Everyone who steals calls theft private." "Then smell it." One security man made a small sound, but Cormac accepted the blotter strip she prepared. He inhaled once. His expression did not change except in the eyes. They sharpened. "Where did you learn this structure?" "I built it." "Who has smelled it?" "My brother. My landlady once. Holden Locke at Ellery Fragrance when I applied for an apprenticeship. He said it was sentimental and badly dressed." Cormac's jaw tightened. "Holden Locke? Why?" Instead of answering, he ordered every temporary worker paid, the service corridor sealed, and all cabinet footage brought to his study. Then he looked at Sera again. "You will come upstairs." "Am I being arrested?" "If I wanted police, they would be here." "That is not comforting." It was not meant to be. She followed because the alternative was walking into a city where the Quince family had just found a poor woman useful as a stain. His study smelled of cedar, dried bergamot, and cold ashes. A cream folder sealed with black ribbon waited on the desk beside newspapers, showing Opal Quince smiling beside him at charity dinners. Cormac removed his coat with exact care. "My family trust convenes tomorrow. The Quince faction will use tonight to force their merger and push Opal as my safest bride." Sera stared at him. "Is this the part where the billionaire explains his marriage problems to the accused server?" "You asked why Holden mattered. He was dismissed from Sterling 6 months ago for selling internal evaluations to Quince. If he had your accord, then either Quince used your work or you helped them steal mine." "I didn't." "Then prove it." "With what?" "I have 1 bottle and a brother who needs breakfast before school." Cormac's gaze flicked to the rent notice in her handbag. He had seen everything. He tapped the cream folder. "I need a spouse who is not Opal Quince by noon." "No, you have not heard the offer. I heard enough. A temporary marriage, 90 days, separate rooms, independent counsel for you, protection from the theft accusation, access to the Sterling archive and laboratories to prove whether your accord was taken, escrowed payment in your name, education funding for Finn Linden, dissolution at your discretion." The room tilted without moving. 90 days, a legal marriage, proof, safety, money. A cage lined with velvet still had bars. "You don't know me," she said. "I know you are cornered." "That is not the same thing." "No, it is more reliable." She hated him because he was accurate. He slid the document across the desk. She read despite herself. The terms were insulting in their clarity. No physical expectation, no non-disclosure preventing testimony about illegal acts, no right for him to make medical, residential, or financial decisions on her behalf. Full credit to any work she proved was hers. It was not kind. It was careful. Somehow that made it harder to refuse. "I am not for sale. I am not buying you. You are buying time with my name. I am offering you the chance to buy truth with mine." The sentence remained between them. She thought of Finn's inhaler in a stranger's hand, the eviction notice under public lights, Opal's laugh falling over her like perfume over rot. Survival was never as clean as people with money wanted it to appear. Sometimes dignity meant refusing. Sometimes it meant signing before the enemy wrote your confession. She picked up the pen. "This is a temporary marriage deal," she said. "Not rescue, not romance, not ownership. Cormac held her gaze. Agreed. If you lie, I leave. If you betray me, I end it. If you humiliate me, I end it publicly. For the first time, something almost like a smile touched his mouth. Then we understand each other. No, Sera said and signed. We have terms. They married the next morning in the old Sterling orangery because the family registrar had been bribed by Cormac's grandfather decades ago to come to private houses and had apparently never stopped. Frost silvered the glass roof. 2 citrus trees stood in copper tubs. Orla Tenney, Cormac's lawyer, arrived with iron-gray hair, red gloves, and the expression of a woman who had long ago stopped being surprised by rich men behaving badly at breakfast. Sera wore the same gray dress, cleaned badly at the hem. Cormac wore charcoal and no flour. When the registrar asked for rings, Orla opened a velvet pouch and revealed 2 narrow bands of smoked quartz set into plain gold. Archive tokens, Cormac said. They opened the private vault during a spouse review. How romantic. I have no talent for romance. No, you have no practice. His silence was the first thing about him that felt less than invincible. By noon, the Sterling Trust learned Cormac was married. By 1, Opal learned it was not to her. By 3, the first photograph appeared online. Sera leaving under Cormac's black coat because no one had thought to bring a coat for the bride. The headline called her a mystery wife. The next called her a server bride. The third asked whether the new Mrs. Sterling had stolen more than a billionaire's heart. Finn saw it before Sera could warn him. Tell me you did not marry a scary perfume billionaire because I needed tuition, he said when she answered. I married him because I was accused of theft. His enemies are connected to mine. And yes, tuition appears in the paperwork. But you are forbidden to make yourself tragic. I hate this. Is he old? No. Ugly? No. That makes it worse. Despite everything, Sera laughed. Cormac stood beside her in the glass elevator, looking at the floor numbers and pretending not to hear. Finn's voice softened. Are you safe? Sera looked at Cormac's reflection. He did not turn, but his jaw tightened at the question. I'm not alone, she said, which was the most honest answer she had. The Sterling penthouse occupied 3 floors above the old Spice District. It was stone, glass, silence, and views of the bay like hammered tin. Sera's suite had heated floors and towels so soft they made her angry. Cormac gave her a phone with 3 numbers saved, his, Orla's, and building security. Do you always make captivity efficient? She asked. You may leave whenever you want. Then it is not captivity, just surveillance with towels. I assigned no one to watch you, because you assume people watch for you without being asked. He paused. That is fair. She had not expected him to admit it. It disarmed her more than denial would have. The next morning, Sera entered the Sterling archive with Dr. Pia Wren, head of materials analysis, a small woman with silver-black braids and no patience for awe. The vault was not romantic. It was stainless drawers, amber lamps, temperature monitors, and locked cabinets. Yet the air had depth: dried lavender, waxed paper, moss, tobacco leaf, almond soap, medicinal roots, sea salt in old wood. Every formula had a ghost. Pia handed Sera gloves. I was told you can smell contamination in citrus bases. I can smell cheap shortcuts when someone is arrogant with them. Good. We have plenty of arrogance. They tested the false vial, Sera's amber accord, 3 reference samples, and months of development trials. By afternoon, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Sera's accord had not been copied exactly. It had been gutted, dressed in sterling materials, and forced into a colder shape. Someone had taken its strange warmth and built a luxury launch around it. This base, Sera said, holding a blotter at the edge of her breath. "It isn't smoke, it's toasted rice." Pia looked up. "Toasted rice?" "My mother burned rice once a week when she was tired. Not badly. Just enough for the bottom to crisp. Warm starch, mineral, bitter." I tried to catch that note for years. Halden Locke laughed when I told him. Pia searched the evaluation system. 4 days after Sera's apprenticeship interview, Halden had logged a mineral grain accord under Sterling Review. Sera stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Her kitchen table had become corporate language. Her memory had been renamed before it was stolen. Cormac found her that evening beside scanned pages from her cheap notebooks. Trial ratios, bus times, rent math, a reminder to buy Finn socks, the words toasted rice. Not smoke circled 3 times. "You should have told me about Halden before tonight," she said. "I did not know enough." "You knew he mattered." "Yes." "So you managed the truth." His face stayed closed, but his voice lowered. "I managed risk. That is what powerful people call silence." He looked at the notebook. "Can you prove the dates?" "Emails, supply receipts, old voice memos, public lab login records." "Maybe." "We will." "I will," she said. "You may assist if supervised." Pia coughed into her sleeve. At the first trust review, Opal came dressed in winter white and touched Sera's arm for the cameras. "My dear Sera, this must be overwhelming. Cormac can be intense when he is proving a point." Sera looked at the hand. "Please don't leave fingerprints unless you plan to log them." A reporter heard. So did Cormac. His hand came to rest briefly at Sera's back as they entered the hall. Public, protective, controlled. It annoyed her that she noticed when he removed it. Inside, Phaedra Milne, the trust chair, sat behind a crescent table with 6 voting members. She had served the Sterling family for 20 years and looked at Sera as if the marriage were a stain on linen. "Mrs. Sterling, your role is limited," Phaedra said. "My role in most rooms has been limited," Sera replied. "I'm learning to speak anyway." Jasper presented concern as if it were evidence. He spoke of brand stability, theft allegations, the danger of letting an uncredentialed temporary spouse into proprietary archives. He never called Sera poor. He did not need to. Every sentence built a glass box around her. Then Opal produced a private message, supposedly sent from Sera's new phone to an unknown buyer, offering the Ash Accord for cash. "That is false," Sera said. Phaedra lifted a brow. "Can you prove that?" Cormac spoke before she could. "The device was in my possession at that timestamp. Building security, inventory receipt, and elevator logs confirm it." It should have felt good to be defended. Instead, Sera felt the old fear that her innocence depended on someone richer remembering to say so. When the board moved to archive access, she stood. If House Sterling developed work from my interview sample through Halden Locke, then the archive contains evidence involving me. Keeping me out does not protect the company. It protects whoever renamed my work. Opal's eyes flashed. That is a serious accusation. So was calling me a thief while I was on my knees. Phaedra made a note. Conditional access continues under Dr. Wren. Outside, Cormac walked beside Sera through a corridor of polished black stone. "You should have warned me before speaking," he said. Sera laughed once. "Of course that is your response. You increased your risk." "My risk was already being managed by people who disliked me. I prefer direct danger." "What you prefer is not always what keeps you alive. And what keeps me alive is not always what keeps me human." The corridor lights reflected in his eyes. For a moment, the cold man looked not angry, but struck. She left him there. That night, he knocked on her suite door with a brown paper bag. "What is that?" "Food." "I have food." "You had tea." "That is a kind of food if you're tired enough." "Dumplings. No cameras, no obligation, no conversation required. She should have refused on principle, but the smell was warm and savory. You're very manipulative for a man who claims not to be romantic. I never claimed not to be manipulative. She took the bag. Good night. Sera. It was the first time he used her first name without calculation. He looked as if the next words had to be dragged from somewhere unused. You were right today about being human. That was almost an apology. It was adjacent to one. Try stepping closer next time. He nodded solemnly. Good night. Small things began to happen. Cormac stopped answering for her, unless she looked at him first. Sera stopped assuming every silence from him was contempt, though many remained irritating. He learned Finn liked terrible science fiction and sent scholarship documents without sterling letterhead. Sera learned Cormac took coffee black not because he enjoyed bitterness, but because his mother had once told him sugar made boys soft, and he had been too young to understand she was speaking from fear. His mother, Verena Sterling, existed in the archive as thin handwriting, coded dots, and private formulas marked dangerous to launch because they were too close to grief. Cormac rarely touched those pages. She died when you were young? Sera asked one evening. 17. I'm sorry. Most people are. That doesn't make it untrue. He looked at her, and she saw the cost of growing up with people who used condolences as keys. She had a breakdown after a formula leak, he said. Sera Atelier launched a scent almost identical to her last private study. My father sued. Nico Serat's family countered. The press turned her into a genius robbed by rivals. Then, a negligent woman who misplaced her own work. She stopped creating. Then she stopped leaving the house. And Nico is your enemy because of that? Nico inherited the benefit of theft. Did he steal it? His father did. Did you prove it? The court settled. That is not the same thing. No, he said coldly. It is what money calls truth when everyone is tired. A week later, Nico Serat sent Sera a box of white blotting cards at the public lab, where she had gone to retrieve old application emails. Inside lay 5 strips and a note written in green ink. Ask Sterling why his ash smells like my mother's locked trial from 1998. Come alone if you want your own name back before they trade it away. Sera did not come alone. She sent the note to Orla and Pia. Cormac arrived within the hour, fury held so tightly it resembled calm. You should have told me before opening it, he said. You should try saying good morning before becoming impossible. Pia tested the strips. 4 were blank. The 5th released scent only when warmed beneath a lamp. Pink pepper, sea fennel, and old paper treated with a resin once used in Serat formula books. This is an authentication trail, Pia said. Cormac looked at the strip as if it had insulted his dead. Nico proposed a meeting at the abandoned citrus distillery on Galen Quay, neutral ground between the Sterling warehouses and the Serat workshop. Orla forbade it. Cormac forbade it twice. Pia suggested controlled surveillance. Sera listened until her patience cracked. I will not be passed around like a bottle no one wants to break. If Nico has evidence about my accord, I need it. If he has evidence about Verena, you need it. If this is a trap, then we prepare. The meeting was set for the next evening. Orla arranged a car. Pia sewed a recorder into Sera's coat. Cormac said little during the drive, his silence filling the car until Sera wanted to open the door and let the cold air argue with him. The distillery had been closed for 20 years. Brick walls sweated salt from the bay fog. Old copper vats stood under broken skylights, and the air smelled of rust, bitter peel, and trapped damp. Sera waited near the central vat, with one hand around her amber bottle, not because it could protect her, but because it reminded her she had made something before anyone priced it. Nico Sera arrived without drama, lean and tired-eyed in a navy coat with one torn cuff. He raised both hands when he noticed the recorder. "Good," he said. "At least one of us is sensible." "Why contact me?" "Because Sterling would burn the paper if I handed it to him. He might laminate it first." Nico's mouth curved. "You know him better than expected." He placed a metal sample case on the work table. Inside were 3 vials, a brittle formula card, and a photograph of 2 women in a greenhouse. Verena Sterling, unsmiling, beside a laughing woman with Sera cheekbones and one hand over a notebook. "My mother and Verena were not enemies," Nico said. "They built a private exchange archive, shared references, mutual credit. Their husbands turned it into theft after the women refused a merger." Sera stared. "Does Cormac know?" He was 17. His father made sure grief became simpler than truth. A sound came from above. Glass broke. The lights went out. A sharp, sweet chemical smell pushed through the damp air. Sera's eyes burned. Nico grabbed the sample case and caught her arm. Footsteps moved on the iron gallery. "This was not me," he said. "I was just deciding whether to believe you." "Decide faster." They ran for the side door and found it chained from outside. Another bottle shattered near their feet. The fumes rose thicker. Sera's lungs tightened. Fear lived in the body before the mind could make arrangements. Her breath narrowed to a thread. Nico shoved the sample case into her hands. "Hold this. I can walk. You can barely insult me. I can do both." She tried to climb through a high broken window, slipped, and felt the world tilt. Nico caught her as her knees folded. His arms locked around her ribs, urgent rather than intimate. The main doors burst open. Cold air rushed in, and with it, Cormac Sterling. He stood framed by fog and security lights, his black coat open, his face stripped of every expression except betrayal turning to ice. Sera was in Nico Sera's arms. The sample case lay at her feet. Nico's hand was against her back. Sera tried to speak and coughed until her vision flashed white. Cormac crossed the floor and took her from Nico with a force controlled only because it had to be. "Get outside." "Cormac," she managed. "Not now." Nico wiped his eyes. "Someone locked us in." Cormac did not look at him. "Step away from my wife." Sera felt anger pierce the dizziness. My wife. Not Sera. Not the woman who could not breathe. The possessive shape of panic. Outside, while Pia checked her lungs and Orla argued with police, Cormac stood apart. Sera rose from the curb, wrapped in a thermal blanket. "I did not betray you. You withheld information. So have you. You were in his arms. He caught me when I couldn't stand. You went to a man who built his name against mine. I went to evidence. Evidence you decided I could not handle. Evidence you decided I could not gather without permission." His eyes were terrible in the key lights. "This marriage exists because we agreed on terms. Yes, temporary terms, legal terms, not obedience. And trust?" The word came out colder than all the rest. Sera held the blanket closed. "You did not trust me when I was on your floor. You trusted logs, lawyers, and cameras. Do not ask why I learned to bring witnesses instead of feelings." The blow landed. For one moment, he looked less like a billionaire than a boy who had believed the wrong story so long that truth felt like abandonment. Then the cold returned. "Orla will take you home," he said. "No. Orla will take me to Finn." "That is not wise. I'm not asking for wisdom. You found me in your rival's arms and decided what it meant before I could breathe. That is your wound, Cormac, not my crime." She left before he could answer. Finn opened the attic door at midnight with a taped rolling pin in one hand and terror on his face. "You look awful. You look armed. It's Mrs. Keene's. I improved it. Sera sat on the floor because the small attic was familiar and not owned by anyone who could fold a city with a phone call. She told Finn enough. Fumes, evidence, argument. Not the way Cormac had looked at her. Not the part where that hurt more than it should have. She did not return to the penthouse for 9 days. She worked from the public lab with Pia and Orla, slept on the attic floor, ignored reporters, and answered only Cormac's messages about evidence. He did not ask her to come back. She did not know whether that was restraint or pride. The distillery attack yielded more than fumes. The solvent came from a Sterling subsidiary warehouse, signed out under Phaedra Milne's administrative override. The chain on the side door had been purchased by Jasper Quince's assistant. The anonymous tip that sent Cormac to the key came from Opal's charity office. Everyone had touched the trap lightly, as rich people preferred to touch dirty things. The sample case survived. The brittle card carried 3 sets of handwriting: Verena Sterling's, Lucia Surratt's, and Phaedra Milne's neat archive code. The photograph proved collaboration, not theft. More importantly, the recovered archive map showed that Holden Locke had used a dormant Sterling evaluation portal linked to Quince servers to upload Sera's interview accord under the development number later attached to Ash number 7. The public hearing began on a Tuesday beneath a pewter sky. The International Fragrance Ethics Council had no prison cells, but it could freeze launches, destroy partnerships, and make thieves unwelcome where they had once been poured champagne. The hall sat inside the old customs exchange, with high windows and brass lamps. Sera entered without Cormac. The cameras noticed. Opal noticed more. "Where is your husband?" Opal asked sweetly. "I assume wherever billionaires go when they brood. Temporary arrangements do end. That is the useful thing about temporary arrangements. They teach you what you would choose without pressure." Jasper leaned close. "Careful, Mrs. Sterling. Without Cormac's shadow, people may remember what you were before he signed you." Sera looked at him until his smile became effort. "Before he signed me, I was the woman whose work you stole. The signature was never the valuable part." Cormac arrived 3 minutes before testimony through a side entrance with Orla. He stopped 3 chairs away and waited. Sera moved her bag from the chair beside her. He sat. No one else would have understood the size of that invitation. "The oranges were insufficient," he said quietly. The morning after the attack, he had sent groceries to Finn, with no note except a ridiculous number of oranges. "They were confusing," Sera said. "I owe you words." "Yes. I believed an old wound faster than I believed you. That was cowardice dressed as caution." She stared forward because enemies filled the room. "Keep going." "I'm sorry." There it was. Not adjacent, not hidden inside logistics. A plain sentence, poorly decorated, and therefore trustworthy. "I didn't tell you everything because I expected you to become a locked door," she said. "I was right, but I still chose for you. I'm sorry for that part, not for gathering proof. I would not ask it. You did. I won't again." Across the aisle, Nico Surratt sat alone with the sample case under his chair. He nodded to Sera. Cormac saw it, tightened once, and then deliberately relaxed his hand. Sera respected that effort more than ease. The hearing began with Jasper's polished story. Market research, employee misconduct, a distracting marriage. He displayed Sera's poverty in charts without naming it. Lack of credentials, temporary employment, financial distress, motive. Opal spoke next with trembling elegance about watching Cormac manipulated during a vulnerable corporate moment. Phaedra Milne followed, calm and precise, describing herself as a guardian of Sterling continuity, forced to manage chaos. Then the evidence began. Pia presented the chemical match between the false preview vial and a Quince development lab. Orla produced phone records connecting Halden Locke to Jasper's office and warehouse logs tying Phaedra to the distillery solvent. Nico presented the photograph of Verena and Lucia, then the formula card proving their exchange archive existed before the lawsuit that made their families enemies. Cormac stood and identified his mother's handwriting. His voice remained steady until he reached the words, "shared credit." Sera watched him place truth against his childhood and not look away. Then she carried an old enamel tray to the demonstration table. 3 notebooks, her amber bottle, supply receipts, public lab logs, and scent strips clipped with cheap wooden clothespins because she refused to let anyone stage her life as if it had always had silver tools. "My name is Sera Linden," she said. "I did not train in Graz. I did not inherit a house. I learned by reading discarded journals, testing grocery store citrus peels, burning rice, saving rainwater in a cracked bowl, and ruining more mixtures than I could afford. Poverty does not make work accidental. It only makes proof harder to preserve." The hall went silent. She opened her first notebook beneath the document camera. Dates, trial ratios, bus times, rent math, Finn's inhaler reminder. Toasted rice? Not smoke, circled 3 times. She played the original voice memo she had left for herself after the first successful accord, because she had been afraid she would forget the proportions before buying more alcohol base. Her tired voice filled the hall. Toasted rice under bitter orange. Not smoke. Do not let anyone rename it. Pia ran the comparison. Ash number 7, Halden Locke's upload, Quince lab trial, and Sera's amber accord appeared on the projection as quiet chemical mountains. Not identical, because thieves decorated, but rooted in the same stolen heart. Jasper stood. "This proves influence at most." Sera lifted the amber bottle. "Influence asks permission." She placed 1 drop of her accord on a strip and 1 drop of ash number 7 on another. Ash removes the warmth. It hides the kitchen. It turns survival into something rich people can wear without feeling implicated. That is not refinement. It is erasure. Phaedra rose. "This is theatrical." "Good," Sera said. "People remember theater." Orla played the distillery recording next. Glass breaking, coughing, Nico saying, "This was not me." Sera saying, "I can walk," the chain rattling against the side door. Then a voice above, faint but clear, speaking into a phone. "Make sure Sterling sees enough." Pia enhanced it. Phaedra Milne's calm voice convicted her better than panic could have. Phaedra sat. Opal went white under powder. Jasper reached for a glass and missed. Cormac stood last. He did not make a speech about love. He did not claim Sera as wife to strengthen her truth. He did something far more costly in his world. "House Sterling withdraws ash number 7, he said. "All records will be submitted for independent review. Any formula derived from Miss Linden's work will be destroyed or renegotiated under her authorship, at her discretion. The Sterling-Quince merger is terminated. Phaedra Milne is removed from archive authority pending civil action. And the Verena-Lucia exchange archive will be restored with both families named." Jasper surged up. "You will lose half your distribution." Cormac looked at him. "Better half a market than all of my mother." No one had a clean answer. The aftermath did not arrive like sunrise. It arrived like a warehouse after a storm, full of broken crates, exposed rot, and people arguing over liability. Phaedra resigned before discovering resignation was not a door out of evidence. Halden Locke attempted to sell an interview and was served on camera. Jasper announced legal action, then withdrew after server records surfaced. Opal released a statement about being misled by family advisors. No one believed it, but belief had never been required for survival in her circles. Sera became famous for 12 days in the strange, flattening way scandal creates fame. Half the city called her brilliant, half called her calculating. Brands offered contracts written like velvet traps. A magazine wanted to photograph her at the attic table. She declined so firmly the editor apologized. Cormac offered her the top floor of the Sterling laboratory for her own line. Sera said no. He did not hide that it hurt him. She liked him better for failing to hide it. "I thought authorship was the point," he said. "Authorship is the point. Ownership is the question. You would own it. In your building, under your security, through your glass doors, with everyone saying you gave it to me. It is practical. It is a beautiful cage." He looked down at his hands. "I'm trying not to make cages. I know. I'm apparently bad at it. You are improving." The 90-day mark approached like a blade laid politely on a table. Sera returned to the penthouse after the hearing, not because everything was healed, but because Cormac asked once without strategy, and Finn refused to keep stepping over her mattress. Their life became almost domestic in dangerous small ways. Notes by the coffee machine, Finn's sarcastic drawings taped to the refrigerator, Cormac knocking even when doors stood open. During one power outage, Sera watched Cormac and Nico sort Verena and Lucia's recovered exchange cards by emergency lamp, speaking awkwardly at first, then carefully, like men building a bridge from splinters. Truth, she thought, was sometimes less an explosion than a correct label placed after years of damage. On the last week of the contract, Opal came to the Sterling laboratory, wearing black and no pearls. Cormac refused the visit before Sera heard the request, and Sera overruled him by opening the door herself. Opal apologized without poetry, admitted she had known enough to make Sera disposable, and said she envied Sera for still knowing which part of herself was hers. Sera remembered the marble floor and the laugh above her head. "I hope you find that part," she said, "far away from me." After Opal left, Cormac said she should not have met her alone. Sera answered that some apologies had to be faced without a witness. Sera looked at him. "The contract ends Friday." "I know. You haven't mentioned it." "I was hoping time would become less legal if ignored." She smiled despite herself. "That may be the least efficient sentence you've ever said. I am not efficient about this." The air altered. He stepped closer, then stopped with space still intact. Cormac Sterling, who could buy buildings before breakfast, stood before her as if permission were a country whose language he was still learning. "I will sign the dissolution whenever you ask," he said. "The settlement remains yours. Finn's trust remains. Your authorship claim continues. Sterling will not touch your new work unless you invite it. You can leave with no penalty." "You rehearsed that?" "Yes." "Badly?" "Yes." "What do you want?" He looked at her fully. The coldness was still there, but she understood it now, not as absence, but armor. Beneath it stood a man who had spent half his life mistaking control for care, because every uncontrolled thing had once ruined him. "I want you to stay," he said. "Not because of the contract, not because of scandal, not because I protected you too late or believed you too slowly. I want mornings with your terrible tea. I want Finn's drawings insulting my furniture. I want to smell what you make before the world teaches you to explain it. I want to be chosen by you in a way Orla cannot file." Sera felt the words enter her like warmth through a door she had insisted was locked. "And if I leave? Then I will learn to love you without possession." It was not perfect. It was better. Friday came with clear weather and a silver wind over the bay. Orla arrived with dissolution papers in a blue folder and the faint sadness of a lawyer who had become invested despite herself. Sera signed first. Cormac watched the pen move. His face did not change, but his hand closed once around the smoked quartz ring. Then Sera took off her ring and placed it on the table. "This marriage was temporary," she said. His voice was quiet. "Yes." "The deal is over." "Yes." She removed a second document from her bag. 1 page, written with Orla's help because romance was not less real for needing clarity. "These are not terms for a cage," Sera said. "They are terms for trying. Separate bank accounts, separate work. No surprise security. No speaking for me in public unless I squeeze your hand twice. No expensive gifts that solve feelings. Dinner with Finn every other Sunday unless he becomes unbearable, which he will. 1 evening a week where neither of us discusses lawyers, laboratories, Quince, Sterling, Serat, or betrayal." Orla looked at the ceiling. Cormac read the page as if it were sacred. "And no archive rings," Sera added. "If we ever wear rings again, we choose them together." Cormac did not reach for her. "Are you asking for courtship?" "I am asking whether a cold billionaire can date without acquiring the restaurant." His laugh surprised all 3 of them, low and unpracticed enough to bring tears dangerously close. "I can try," he said. "Trying is the offer." He signed. Their first non-contract dinner was at a noodle shop under the train tracks, chosen by Finn, who claimed it was impossible to act like a tragic aristocrat while eating chili oil from a chipped bowl. Cormac proved him wrong for 10 minutes, then splashed broth on his cuff. Finn laughed. Sera waited for Cormac to stiffen, but he only looked at the stain and said with grave resignation, "I have been humbled by soup." Finn considered this. "You may be allowed in the family. Generous? Don't get used to it." Months passed. Sera rented a narrow former print shop on Juniper Lane and turned it into Lyndon's studio, with white walls, second-hand steel tables, and 1 shelf devoted entirely to failed trials because she considered them ancestors. Pia visited on Saturdays and criticized her storage system. Nico sent materials from Serat farms with invoices so formal that peace looked bureaucratic. Cormac came after work and stood in the doorway until Sera told him whether he was allowed into the day's chaos. Her first independent fragrance was not ash, not sterling, not Quince's stolen luxury. She named it unrenamed. Bitter orange, toasted rice, cracked porcelain water, mineral warmth, and a green note like a window opened after a long argument. The launch was small. The studio, the people who had believed evidence before rumor, and Finn handing out blotter cards while pretending not to be proud. Cormac arrived late because a board vote ran long. He brought no flowers. He brought dinner in paper bags and a handwritten list of every distributor he had refused on her behalf until she asked for options. At the bottom, he had written, "I touched nothing. I am insufferably proud." Sera found him in the back room, examining failed trials. "That one smells like regret," she said. "I was going to say, wet cardboard and ambition." "Same family." He turned. "You did it. We did parts of it. I did this." "Yes," he said. "You did." There was no hunger in his voice to own the achievement, no pride pretending to be generosity. Just witness. Sera crossed the room and kissed him. Later, after the studio emptied, Opal Quince appeared at the window. Cormac saw her, and his old coldness returned like a blade from its sheath. Opal did not enter. She slid a small envelope through the mail slot and left. Inside was a Quince memo copied before Jasper's settlement, confirming that Sera's accord had been chosen because the domestic poverty angle can be polished into authenticity if origin is controlled. Beneath it, Opal had written, "I found one more piece of what they named for you." Sera read it twice. It hurt, but like a bruise pressed after healing. Cormac asked, "Do you want me to pursue it?" "No. I want to file it. Then I want to eat before Finn takes home all the dumplings." He nodded. A smaller victory than revenge, perhaps, but hers. A year after the conservatory humiliation, House Sterling reopened the Winter Glasshouse not for a luxury preview, but for the dedication of the Verena Lucia Exchange Archive. It was no longer a private vault used to make women vanish into family lawsuits. It had become a research foundation with shared credit rules, independent oversight, and scholarships for apprentices whose brilliance did not arrive wearing the right shoes. Nico stood beneath Lucia Sera's portrait, while Cormac, brief and steady at the podium, named the women, thanked the archivists, and stepped aside so Sera could introduce the first apprentices. She looked out at the marble floor, the citrus trees, the staff who had once seen her kneel, Finn in a suit he hated, Pia with her arms crossed, and Orla pretending not to cry. "Every scent has a structure," Sera said. "So does every lie. Top notes are the easy story. The heart is where memory lives. The base is what remains after the room empties. For too long, women like me were used as top notes in other people's stories. Server, thief, temporary wife, rumor. Tonight this archive begins with a different rule. No work without a name. No name without consent. No brilliance treated as raw material for someone else's inheritance." After the dedication, Cormac led Sera into the old potting room, where damp soil and orange leaves softened the air. On the workbench lay 2 warm gold rings, each set with a tiny amber oval. Beside them sat a note in Finn's handwriting. "Please do not become embarrassing for more than 5 minutes." "He knew?" Sera asked, laughing through sudden tears. "He helped choose them. He rejected anything he called billionaire nonsense." Cormac took a breath. Vulnerability still looked like work in him, but he did the work. "We ended the temporary marriage. We tried. I am still learning. I cannot promise never to be afraid or never to reach for control before trust. I can promise to notice sooner, apologize plainly, and leave every door marked from the inside." That is not a traditional proposal. I was advised that buying the street would be poorly received. "Excellent advice." His eyes warmed. "Sera Linden, will you marry me again? Not to protect an archive, not to stop a merger, not to answer scandal, and not temporarily?" She thought of the marble under her knees, Nico's arms catching her in poisoned air, Cormac choosing suspicion and then choosing apology, Finn laughing over soup, her notebooks under cameras, and her name spoken back to her by a room that once would have swallowed it. She slid 1 ring onto Cormac's finger first. "Yes," she said, "but only if we leave before the speeches become unbearable." He placed the other ring on her hand, slow enough that both of them could feel the choice. "No deadline? No ownership." "No ownership," he agreed. They returned to the glass house together, not as a mystery wife and a cold billionaire, but as 2 people walking into a room that had once staged humiliation and now had to make space for repair. Opal was absent. Jasper was fighting charges in another city. Phaedra Milne's name had become a warning in ethics lectures. Halden Locke had lost the right to call theft evaluation. The people who had laughed moved more quietly now. Not all changed, and not all sorry, but aware that Sera Linden was no longer a convenient floor on which to drop blame. Finn raised 2 fingers from the dessert table, checking whether there had been embarrassing behavior. Sera raised 3. He groaned. Cormac leaned close. "What does that mean?" "We exceeded the permitted 5 minutes. A serious breach. You married difficult. I chose difficult." The word moved through her, no longer a warning. She wrote a phrase on a blotter card and slipped it into Cormac's pocket. Unrenamed, still becoming. He read it and looked at her with the expression he wore only when scent reached the part of him words had never trained. Much later, when the guests had gone and the staff were stacking glasses, Sera walked back to the place where she had knelt a year ago. Cormac followed, but did not interrupt. She stood there in her green dress, her new ring warm on her hand, and inhaled. No false perfume, no metallic shame, no bitter dilution meant to hide a stolen heart. Only orange leaf, damp soil, candle smoke, and somewhere beneath them all the faintest toasted warmth from the studio sample Finn had dropped in his pocket and forgotten. Her work had traveled into the room without permission from the powerful, not as theft, but as presence. Cormac stood beside her. "What do you smell?" Sera slipped her hand into his. "Mine." He understood not to ask whether she meant the scent, the room, the life, or the love. Some answers were larger when they remained unseparated. They left by the front doors,